Alright, so because I have another group I'm sending the video to again, everybody needs to introduce themselves.
Alright.
Alright, I'll go first. I'm Benjamin Clifton. I'm a student.
I'm Tess Clifton. I am an educator.
Michaela Clifton, in-home personal care assistant.
Student too.
Student too.
Taylor Lake, proto teacher.
And Rihanna, national student and DSP. Alright. So we are going to be covering non-verbal language. Many different things. So the first thing I want you guys to do is to tell me what your definition of nonverbal communication is in 2 sentences or less.
Facial expressions and body language and gestures.
Okay.
I would agree with Benjamin that there's body postures, gestures, and expressions that people use to communicate their true message.
Yeah, I would agree with Ben too. The facial expressions and body posture.
Honestly, I don't really know what to add. It's a pretty complete summary to me. I mean, I could break it down specifically into the kinds of things, but I don't think that pretty much helps.
Alright, so there's actually 9 components to nonverbal communication. First one is we've all talked about already is facial expressions. Obviously, they're responsible for a major component of nonverbal communication. Gestures. Lots of us talk with our hands, like I'm doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us, when we're communicating to somebody, it's like if they've asked a question, hey, where's the telephone? You point. And there's paralinguistics, and this is vocal communication that is separate from actual language. So if you go, or you sigh, you groan,
Grunt.
you grunt, exactly. Then there's body language and posture, which is something you all brought up again. So it's postures and movements that can convey information. Proximity is another communicator.
Really?
The need for personal space, how close you are to someone's personal space. So for example, you would be much closer in space to a friend, a relative, a spouse than you would be to, say, one of your students.
And that's considered to be part of the nonverbal
It is.
communication
Exactly.
quadrant. Interesting.
Then
Well,
eye
it makes
gaze.
sense. I mean, if you're angry, you're going to move into someone's face.
Mm-hmm.
eye gaze, the way you are looking at somebody or not looking at somebody.
Isn't that part of facial?
It is part of facial, but it's a separate component of facial.
Okay, because if you were, for instance, saying something and making one expression with your face but looking away with your eyes, that could infer something else. Like,
Exactly.
I really do like what you're looking at, what you look like today, honey, but you're not looking at them.
Right.
Right.
Interesting.
Or you
We
have
need
the.
I'm keeping going.
Oh,
Sorry.
Another aspect is haptics, which is communicating through touch in your nonverbal behaviors.
Like a punch.
A punch,
well, they're the most obvious.
or if you're working with a student and you touch the back of their shoulder,
Kind of told.
like if you're moving through your classroom and redirecting through touch, or tapping on the desk.
Or even just letting them know where you are.
I was told
Exactly.
not to do that.
Yeah, we're not supposed to. Yes.
Appearance. Your choices of what color you're wearing, what clothing style you're wearing, your hairstyle, all affect how other people are going to perceive you and how they're going to perceive your nonverbal and verbal communication.
I did that very well.
And then the other things are artifacts, any objects or tools or images that we can use to communicate nonverbally.
Well, like PAX.
Text would be an excellent example of that. So
Pictorial.
a pictorial communication, emojis in texts or in emails are all nonverbal
For
communication.
some people, it's the only way they can communicate.
So for the activity we're going to be doing today, we have images that are drawn images and an actual face the idea is to go through and try and label as many emotions as you can, and to see which side is going to be easier, whether it's going to be the actual facial expressions or representation of a facial expression.
Okay.
Good, girl. How would you have those?
I'm used to the pens.
Beautiful.
Sweet guy.
I'll just take regular blue and turn it.
May I see the pen?
Thank you.
Okay, so
Was that a nonverbal communication?
Now, what do you guys think? Do you think the choice of pen color would be a nonverbal communication?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah,
Good.
students learn to fear the red pen.
That's why I don't use one.
Okay, so we've got about, let's say, 2 minutes to label the facial expressions of the man, and then
Okay.
we'll move on to the emoji faces. You don't have to label all of them, just as many as you perceive you can. Another 45 seconds. Alright, last one.
I can't think of the word for that.
Okay. So we're going to go around the table, and I'm going to ask, we're going to start with the upper left-hand corner.
Okay.
Ben?
He's angry.
Are we supposed to go from picture to picture,
No.
that's not
down,
good.
or
Just
saying the same
the
thing?
top
The
left.
top one. Yeah, he's angry.
Michaela, what did you put?
Anger.
Taylor?
Annoyance.
Okay.
Like,
So-
on the angry spectrum of annoyance. But
So that one was fairly easy for everybody to identify, and it was, in fact, anger. Alright. The image down from the top left.
I didn't know.
I said he was kind of cocky or kind of contented. You know, he knows that what it is he's got is right or something like that. It kind of envisioned him playing cards, and he's sitting there with 21.
Okay. Michaela?
Well, that's the face I make when I'm interested in something. So I put interest.
content or smug.
That one was actually labeled as contempt.
Contempt?
Oh,
Oh,
I get it.
not to me. No.
Well, almost,
Alright.
almost the same thing though.
I would say the one that's. I would
Alright.
say that there's a different one, but that's okay.
Bottom left.
Disgust.
Okay.
Disgust.
I put that one as confusion.
Scornful or
Yeah.
disgusted.
Okay, it was in fact disgusted. So top right. Let's start with Taylor this time.
I put surprised, but not in like a pleasant way. In like a whoa.
Okay, Michaela.
opposite.
Yes.
Mhm.
Fear.
Okay.
I put startlement or apprehensive.
Okay.
I didn't know that one either.
All right. So that one was in fact fear.
Oh.
So, all right, Taylor.
Happy and amused.
All right, Caleb.
Amusement.
I put smug amusement.
Happy.
Okay, so that one was labeled as happy.
Unimpressed or nonplussed.
Okay.
I just put a question mark on that one.
Bored.
It was just
Yeah.
He's
bored.
Okay. Ben, so you said
Bored.
very bored. That one, he's actually supposed to be sad.
I did not read
No,
it that way.
that's not sad.
Okay, we'll talk about that.
No, that's not sad.
Bottom right.
That one I put as I couldn't think of the word, so I put off guard. More of a what surprise?
Yeah,
rather
surprise.
than a whoa surprise.
Yeah.
Shocked.
What am I seeing?
Surprised.
I kind of put impressed or surprised by something minor, not
Okay.
major.
I put shock. He's
Shock.
surprised.
Okay, so that one was surprise. Now, let's talk about what are some of the indicators that you guys used. Did you read the indicators that were labeled on the paper, or
No.
what were you using to determine the emotions?
The eyes and the positioning of the lips. And the
I
eyebrows.
did both the picture and read the stuff. I looked at the picture first and then I read, and then if one of them wasn't one that I really could judge, like the one that to me looked bored, that would be the one on the right side, third from the bottom.
Mhm.
I kind of read the other thing to see if that would give me any indicators or support of what I thought.
Yeah, I looked at the picture and then I read the indicators and then I made my decision.
I did not read the indicators, but only because I didn't think that all of them were quite as thorough as some of the other ones were. Like there were other aspects that I would be reading. Like I'm always looking at what the brow are doing, or I'm always looking at what the eyes are doing, but that's not in all of the pictures. So I figured I'd just freestyle it.
Okay. All right, so let's move on to our little emojis.
I'm old. I can't read emojis.
I can't read them either.
All right, so I'm going to ask you to stick to the top row, just for the sake of time, and let's try to label as many as you can in 45 seconds to a minute. Thirty seconds.
And are we supposed to only do the first one?
Only the first one.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, but we're okay. Sorry, son.
It's not a matter of doing as many as you can. It's a matter of labeling them as accurately as you think you can.
Oh,
That's what you said. You said to go. But no.
All right. So let's go the first on the left.
I have no idea what that's supposed to be.
Flirty evilness.
Yeah, sort of a malevolent amused.
aggressively smug.
Okay. That one was supposed to be aggression or aggressive. Second one on the top row.
He looks angry or irritated.
Okay.
Yeah.
Angry. Pissed
Yep.
off.
Okay, so everybody has anger, and that was anger. Third one in.
Uptight. I have a go potty.
Nervous.
Nervous.
Yeah.
Or uptight.
That's what my students look like when they've got to pee. I'm sorry. That's just it.
Upset.
Okay, so that one was supposed to be anxious. So,
Close enough.
Uptight, anxious, gotta go potty. Yep.
alright, number 4.
Asleep.
Sad.
Sad.
Yep, sad face.
Oh.
Okay, that's that
Okay.
one's supposed to be ashamed. So it's in the same ballpark of emotions.
Oh, I would say the one underneath it is ashamed, but I don't know. Maybe
Uh,
that one's supposed to be sad.
Number 5.
I have no idea.
Hesitant?
Relieved.
Okay. Someone's actually labeled as bashful, so it could be
Hmm.
hesitant.
Oh, okay, I can.
Number 6.
Bored. He's yawning.
Yeah,
Oh, no, he's
sleepy or
explaining
bored.
why not. He's explaining why he does not have his homework. Yeah. Mhm.
I got
So-
bored.
Bored, right?
Yeah.
And the last one. Number 7.
Unamused.
I didn't know.
I wrote unsure, meaning like this person or being is kind of in a situation they're not quite so sure about, or maybe they don't have the right answer,
Okay.
kind of
Ben?
thing.
I have no idea.
Okay, so that one's labeled as cautious. So unsure would work as well. Alright, so which did you guys find easier to label? The actual facial expressions or the emojis?
Actual facial
Actual
expressions.
facial expressions. By one, but still.
I think actually it was the second one to a certain degree, but because we went over some, I think it kind of helped to talk about things and kind of get some feedback from other people for me.
So I did notice something while you guys were labeling. There was one emotion that you guys could always clearly identify.
Anger.
Anger. And what's another one that you guys all could identify?
I think
Alright.
the unsure or hesitant.
The hesitation, anger, fear, and happiness.
Okay, yeah,
Oh.
I've got those.
Did
Yeah,
we do?
so-
Otherwise, the most extreme
Okay,
emotions.
our fear, if you considered fear being apprehensive, startled, that's within
Yeah.
the fear complex. Okay.
Those ones, when you labeled them, they weren't labeled identically, but they were identified with synonyms.
I didn't do well with the happy. I put bored, so I'm sorry. He looks constipated. So.
But those are universal human emotions that have no cultural barriers. Those are things that we can identify very, very easily cross-culturally. And I want us to discuss how we perceive nonverbal communication, how we use nonverbal communication, and how you guys want to improve your own nonverbal communication if we get there.
Okay. Well, as far as I believe you stated, the first thing was how we use nonverbal communication.
Right.
We use it to make people comfortable, to make people not comfortable, to clarify communication, to control people's behaviors.
Okay.
Um, Mostly I use nonverbal communication to make people comfortable. Because usually if I'm speaking to them, I'm tearing their opinion down. So,
Okay.
I use nonverbal communication when I just want someone to bugger off. Like with my ex today.
Okay. Taylor, how do you use nonverbal communication?
I'm kind of the opposite. I use it more for reading people. Nonverbal communication for me is the best way that I know how to get at what people are really trying to communicate to me, where oftentimes they don't do a very good job with what they say.
Okay.
So,
That's an interesting facet.
So, which would you guys all perceive as more important, what somebody's saying or the way that they're saying it?
The way
Way
they're
they're
saying
saying.
it.
I think that pretty much goes without saying.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I'm honest.
words have power,
Mm-hmm.
but
It was my posture that made you read it that way.
I wasn't looking at you and I still got that.
Hey, my posture is big, all right?
Alright, so even though it's something that we don't discuss very often, is everybody in agreement that nonverbal communication is more important in some senses than verbal communication?
Well, sure. I mean, even if someone can't talk, then you can still get the gist of what they're saying with gestures, posture, and expressions. Whereas if they can't move, what they're saying can be much less clear.
Yeah. Just partially why it's so hard for me to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think you see that a lot of the times with text messaging and online communication too. Because you can type all the words you want, but whether you're actually conveying the accurate tone or not has been a consistent problem for as long as it's been around.
I agree
That's
with you on
so
that
true.
too.
So
It's
that's-
very easy to misunderstand people by email.
Mhm. Do you think we're more apt to misunderstand people in written forms, such as text or email or letters?
Definitely.
Very clear, yeah,
Yeah.
very much so.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I prefer phone calls, even though it takes so much longer.
I don't even like phone calls. I like to just talk in person. Because
Yeah.
phone calls doesn't even do it for me. I can get tone, but I still don't. Some people don't know their own tones. So they'll use the wrong one. when they're
Right,
trying
but
to-
I'm talking about literally making the phone calls to communicate with parents and such, Taylor.
Right.
They're not coming in. I mean, I'm sorry.
Where preferable,
No.
I prefer one.
Well, of course, I'd love to see them, but, realistically, 200 kids, you're not going to be seeing every parent to discuss things with them,
Right.
But I do understand what you're saying with that. I think that's why classwork and working in the classroom, I think that's why it surprised me so much that actual universities sprang up that were online.
Yeah.
Where, you're not working in a classroom environment because you know that that's my need.
All right.
I have to be around people.
So with that, we are going to wrap it up and call it a day.
Wow, we were just getting good.
Now I have to go do the dishes.
But now I want good dinner, by the way.